My name is CarlBBarney. I'm from California in America. Originally, I was raised and went to school in England. And as a young man, as a teenager, I traveled the world, ending in Australia. I spent 4 or 5 years in Australia and then came to America, where I've been living for the last 50 years. I'm American by choice, although by birth I am English. When I was asking a lot of questions about my beliefs and my life, I was recommended to read a book called Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. The presentation of the book is that a man wanted to stop the motor of the world, and he did so. And the question becomes, what is the motor of the world? Why did he want to stop it? And how did he stop it? And that's the story of Atlas Shrugged. It's a very big story containing a lot of very fascinating characters, fascinating events. It's an extraordinary book in terms of how much it covers, how much grades about human nature, about business, about government. But for me, it was inspirational because what attracted me to it was the entrepreneurs. There are several entrepreneurs in the book, and I had aspirations and wanted to be an entrepreneur. So Atlas Shrugged helped me to become an entrepreneur, inspired me to become an entrepreneur. But the book itself raised a lot of questions for me. And I wanted to go on and answer those questions. And so I read some more of Ayn Rand's books, particularly a book called The Virtue of Selfishness. Selfishness. Many people think that that's a very bad word. But for Ayn Rand, she defined this differently. This is the kind of selfishness where you're doing things for yourself, for your own life, and for those things that are important to you. You're not sacrificing, giving up your life, giving up your goals, giving up your dreams. You're simply living your own life without hurting other people, without asking them to sacrifice for you. So it was no sacrifice, each individual living to benefit their own life. And the virtue of selfishness explains how you can live the fullest, happiest, most successful life. And the virtue of selfishness, particularly the first chapter in Virtue of Selfishness, which is the objectivist ethics, has an enormous impact upon my life. When I was a very young man, as most of us do, I think we ask, what is life all about? What am I going to do with my life? You know, what will my life be about? How do I live? And I had this question. And this objectivist ethics answered that question for me in a simple way. Ayn Rand said that a person should live for themselves for the fullest and best life they can. And the way to do that is to identify their values and pursue them by using their virtues. Now let me explain what that means. For Ayn Rand, values are not just religious or public values. They are personal, and they involve all the various things that an individual acts to gain and or keep. We all desire perhaps money. This is a high value for people on some level. We value a home and we act to gain, and then once we have the home, we keep it. We may want to gain a vehicle, a bicycle, a motorcycle, a car, and then we pursue that and we get to keep it. There are lots of possessions and lots of material things that we want to gain, and we act to gain them, and then once we gain them, we keep them. So values for Ayn Rand were all of the things that you might want to gain and or keep, but not just material things. For Ayn Rand, there were also spiritual values, such as friendship. We all have and hopefully enjoy our friendships, and once we have friends, we act to gain and or keep them. Knowledge, a spiritual value. We may value economics, philosophy, psychology, mathematics, but this is, for people, individuals, this can be a value. Art can be a value for people. Paintings, movies, theater, sculpture, novels, good books such as Atlas Shrugged. These are things that people act to gain and or keep. Love is a value. A romantic relationship, this is a very high value for most people. Sex is a value for people. There's values everywhere. And Ayn Rand says that you need to understand your values, arrange them in a level of importance, and then pursue your own values for yourself and for those that you love, your family, your friends, and live the richest, fullest life that you can. Now, it's about values, but it's also the ways you achieve those values that's important. How do you achieve those values? For Ayn Rand, the way you achieve values is practicing certain virtues. You want to achieve a value, you have to perform the virtuous action that brings it about. For instance, you want to accomplish money, either a salary or as an entrepreneur, you want to make money. But then you have to practice the virtues that will lead to that. Hard work, obviously, thinking about things, that's a virtue, planning, a virtue, and then it will lead to the value. If you want to have friends, there are certain things that you must do to have friends. You must be a good listener, you must be willing to help, you must be willing to cooperate with them. So you practice certain virtues that lead to a value. In a sense, it's cause and effect. The effect is the value, the cause is the various virtues which will lead to that value. Now, I am a businessman, I'm an entrepreneur, and I ask myself the question, how should I run my business? And Ayn Rand's ideas that I applied for myself personally also apply to business. In business, there are values. Simply making a profit, making it grow, making it large, making it successful. These are the values that we want in a business. We want to flourish and prosper and be very profitable. But the question then becomes, how should you do that? And Ayn Rand's virtues, and she lists 7 virtues, are the ideas that I practice in running my business. And the virtues that she lists are just 7. The top virtue is thinking, rationality, rational thinking. This involves asking questions, imagining possibilities, doing calculations, thinking business problems through, identifying opportunities and how you can pursue them. So thinking, rational thinking, is a huge thing in business. And that's one critical virtue from Ayn Rand's philosophy. Another virtue is productiveness. Being creative, achieving things, producing things in a business for your customers. So that's another virtue. Another virtue for Ayn Rand is pride. Doing things the best way you possibly can, high quality, doing it with an ethical framework. And so these are the top virtues for Ayn Rand. Rationality, thinking rationally, productiveness, producing whatever is necessary to make a profit, And third, doing it right with pride. But there are 4 other virtues. Independence, thinking for yourself, acting for yourself, working for your own life. And in a business, you are doing your own work, not being supported by others. You are independently doing the thinking and the work necessary to perform your business. Integrity, you have your principles, you have your moral ideas, your ethical ideals, and you adhere to them. You do and practice what you consider to be ethical. So it's independence, integrity. Justice. This is how you deal with other people. You evaluate other people. If they are good people, you support them. If they're not good, you don't support them, you reject them, you don't have anything to do with them. And so this is an essential thing of justice. You evaluate the people and act accordingly to their just deserts. Good people support, not so good, you have nothing to do with them and avoid them. And there's another aspect of justice, and that is trading with other people. And this is a really crucial virtues for people relating to one another. And there's 2 aspects to this. In one way, in an economic system, in a business arrangement, you provide material values, money typically for some goods or service. And in my business, we provide a service. My business is education. I manage many schools. And we provide this and we receive tuition money in return. So there is this trade here. But trade also has a spiritual dimension where you trade with your friends and your family. You trade love, affection, touch, admiration. There is a spiritual, emotional exchange. So the trading works both materially and spiritually. And there's another virtue, and I'm drawing a blank on it right now. So we have independence, integrity, justice, and the last one eludes me. Huh? Pride. Oh, pride. No, that's one of the 3, but there is no, it'll come to me in a moment. But this framework of wanting values for myself, wanting values in my business, identifying those values, identifying what is important. For instance, in business, what is really terribly important is the people that you work with, your employees, your executives. And those are an enormous value. And to keep them, you have to be an ethical business. You have to I found the other virtue. I'll come back to it in a moment. So a very important one. I can't imagine I lost it. But you identify your values, and you do those virtues that will bring it about. And in business, it's crucial that you practice these virtues in order to flourish and prosper. I will rewind just for a moment. The 4th virtue for Ayn Rand is honesty. And it's an obvious one. And honesty obviously is crucial in a business. Honesty with your employees, and also always completely honest with your customers, your in my case, my students. Be sure they fully and clearly understand, and never under any circumstance tell them any kind of falsehood in any way. And this is a critical thing that I understand about Ayn Rand's ethics. Ayn Rand's ethics are good for me personally, and Ayn Rand's ethics are indispensable in running a successful business, a business which will flourish and prosper, where all the people involved, including myself and my employees and all of my customers, all of them are gaining something. I gain, my employees gain, and my customers gain. And so I flourish, they flourish, and so do my customers. So I'm very grateful for Ayn Rand. The 2 books which inspired me, Atlas Shrugged, which is a very big and exciting novel, and also The Virtue of Selfishness, which in a sense becomes my operating system for my personal life and an operating system for my business.
That's it. I mean, justice is a virtue.
Oh yes, justice is a big virtue.
Teamwork.
a key word.
No, teamwork. Teamwork.
Teamwork. Yes, teamwork is very important, but it's not necessarily a high virtue. Teamwork is important in business, very important. You need to work with other people to solve problems, to work towards opportunities. You must have teamwork, but it's not per se a virtue. Creating a team is a value,
Yeah.
and a good businessman creates a team of executives, and the virtue of keeping them, the way you keep, you want that value of a good team, okay? What you do with them is that you are fair with them, you practice justice as a virtue, you are respectful, that is another virtue, to respect the individuals. Another virtue is to grant them the freedom to operate, so they can think individually and independently. You respect their ideas. When they do something very good, you let them know, and you reward them if they do well. And if they don't do so well, they may not continue to have a job there. But a team is very important, and you practice the virtues to achieve that value.
如果是可能的话，我再问一下，他对那个话题有兴趣吗？如果没兴趣就到这儿。I just want to you know a lot of Chinese businessmen, young men like a hero like Steve Jobs.
Yes.
Yeah. Through my reading from Fountainhead, he's similar with as Howard Rock.
Howard Rock. Yeah.
Similar, very similar. He delivered speech in Stanford University in his later days. Deliver speech in Stanford University.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a graduation ceremony maybe, but his words very similar with Howard. Do you know? How do you think Steve Jobs is an unreal hero?
Howard Rock, who is a hero, a major character in Ayn Rand's Fountainhead. He is a man who is dedicated to his work. He loves his work. He's an architect. He loves to build. He loves to create beautiful things, beautiful buildings. And he's a very independent. He thinks he will not compromise. He's dedicated very much to building beautiful buildings. So that's Howard Rock in the Fountainhead. And then we say Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
How is that related?
Yeah.
Steve Jobs wanted to build something beautiful,
Yeah.
something special, and he didn't want to compromise. When I read his biography, he was relentless. He said, no, this is not good enough. I want something better.
Yeah.
I want it to do more. No, go back, keep trying to do something more.
Yeah.
He was terrible. He insisted on more and more and more, and then finally he created beautiful products such as the iPhone and the iPad and the iPod, It's remarkable what he did, but what he was dedicated to was he loved his work, and so did Howard Rock.
Yeah.
And he wanted to create something special,
Yeah.
so it's Howard Rock
Yeah.
in the buildings, and so did Steve Jobs in creating beautiful electronic devices, which the world now, everyone in the world loves.